Hello and welcome everybody to today's live session together with us at Dreamdata. Today I'm super excited because we have the opportunity to get a lot of bold statements on record, which we can all enjoy in a year's time and check out whether we were exact or not in our predictions about what's going to matter for B2B marketing in 26. And I'm super happy today because we have a great panel here, which will introduce themselves in a minute. I've shared a few questions with them up front just to allow them to prepare a little bit. But mainly we're going to talk about how was last year, what worked, what's going to work this year, and what are kind of your boldest predictions of what's going to work or perhaps what's going to fail. And I'll try to pass the torch around to each of the panelists that are here. But if you're listening to us live, I would really recommend you also to put in your questions in the comment field because they will pop up and we can throw it into the panelists and have them answer these questions. But let's just go straight to it and say welcome to the panel. Francesca, I'll allow you to do the 1 minute intro first, and then we'll pass it on to Hugo afterwards.
Thank you, Steffen. Super happy to be here. My name is Francesca, working at Legora, a legal AI software for lawyers. I work as demand generation director here. I joined the company back in May last year when the company was a pretty small startup out of Stockholm. We are now over 270 people, and it's growing really, really quickly. My background, I've been always working in B2B marketing, always here in Stockholm for Swedish companies, specifically in the SaaS industry. So I work for Klarna, which I'm sure you know, and then Tink, where I work with open banking and with a more open banking industry focused. So first time working with for an AI first company, and it's extremely exciting and like everything's moving extremely fast. So we're going to talk about speed a lot, I think.
Wonderful, and looking forward to ask about AI questions to you. Hugo, you're up next, and then Casper after that.
Yeah, so thanks, Hugo. Pleasure to be here. I've been a marketing and go-to-market executive for the last 15 years at multiple B2B SaaS and hardware startups and scale-ups. Most notably was at DVBox, where I spent 7 years an electric vehicle charging software and hardware company. We grew from 1 to 150 million revenue, and then afterwards, I decided it's time to go and bootstrap startup goal management software. Exited recently, not a great exit, by the way, just a graceful exit, as I like to call it. And then since that, I've been taking like the last 3 years a fractional CMO growth role for various B2B SaaS companies, mostly a 10 million ARR business or beyond. And currently I serve as a fractional CMO at Friends, which is an integration platform for workflow automation, mostly focused at mid-size enterprise business, so where they have an average customer value of 20 to 40K ARR. So that's kind of like the current situation where I'm working at. And that's essentially it. Excited for the conversation and the bold predictions we might have ahead.
And you, Casper.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Casper. I'm the founder of a company called Sparkforce. We're an agency that help B2B SaaS and tech companies. I've been in the SaaS tech space for, well, if you count the last 3 years, 13 years now, I guess. So quite a long time. I worked for Templify, Trustpilot, fintech stuff like that before, head of marketing, head of growth, kind of that stuff. And then I built Sparkforce, and we're 30 people. We've helped more than 100 B2B SaaS over 3 years now, so quite a lot. Yeah, and I brought one thing today I haven't told you guys, actually. I brought popcorn because I was thinking like it's going to be some hot takes, right? So it's going to be fun. So let's see if I get to use them. But anyways, it's going to be fun.
Awesome accessory there, Casper. Francesca, you were already getting into it about 25 being a crazy year, but just to get the conversation flowing, I'd love each of you to just kind of try to summarize your marketing in 25 in 1 or 2 statements or sentences to kind of get us all aligned about where we're at today. But Francesca, how was your marketing 25?
It was fast. I tried to think about a way to summarize 2025 for us, and I think it applies to most of the marketeers around in the industry, but everything, everywhere, all at once. It's pretty much been like that. I need to specify that we are in a specific peculiar industry when it comes about legal AI. The 95-5 rule is completely flipped for us. So we have the luxury of having all of our prospects accounts being in a buying process now, which means that speed is the number one priority for us without sacrificing the quality. But I know that we tend to not to talk enough or to, shy away from talking about speed when it comes about marketing, because you would think that it's associated to bad quality of products or campaigns and outcomes. But the idea is that AI can enable you to ship really, really quickly campaigns that normally would take you longer, but by keeping that quality intact. So for me, yes, 2025, been pretty much everywhere, trying to test as much as possible, learning immediately, and then iterating as fast as possible.
Sounds like a dream come true that the 95-5 goes inverted.
Yeah, I quickly realized that my role, demand generation, it's a bit obsolete. It's more about demand capture. We have the luxury again to have that demand already there. So it's more about capturing that demand, converting as quick as possible into opportunities.
Maybe you could just explain why did I have some assumption, but maybe for everybody listening, why is it that crazy for you guys right now?
Yeah, I can explain. Well, as I said, we work with lawyers, law firms or corporates, so in-house teams. And right now, especially on the law firm side, every single law firm by now have understood that they need to work with AI more than marketeers have, actually. We're going to talk about that. But that means that they see the benefit, the true benefit of using AI, and they have the urge to get an AI tool. So that's why everyone is looking into evaluating, and that's why we need to be in the front of all of our prospects as quick as possible and everywhere. So they're making a decision pretty much as we speak, all of the firms. So
that's super exciting. I'm sure the investors are pretty excited as well in your company.
Yeah.
Hugo, what's your kind of like few bullets from 25? Where did you end the year?
Yeah, if I look back at 2025, I believe it was a lot around adaptability. That's what I felt like, adapting to a new, one can call it a new playbook or a new dynamics. Of course, AI drove a lot of the conversations, but I feel that a lot of the companies are trying to adapt what worked before is no longer works now. And one of the things that I found was that they know that the buyer journey is changing. They know that there is a shifting dynamic where, you know, the buyer is becoming as knowledgeable as the seller on what they need and why they need it and why now. And that means that a lot of processes no longer work well. You know, that whole process for many of the companies I work with, especially friends, that whole logic of like, you ask for a demo, you go to an SDR, you have a discovery call that people get annoyed that you have to do a discovery call. Then you have like another AE, then you have another solution architect, and people want to move faster. And that requires adapting even for companies that are selling to enterprise. They have to adapt. And, you know, Francisco talked about speed. I think that's true. But also for a lot of the marketeers, luckily for someone that is fractional, and maybe there's some fractional people listening, the reason why there is a lot of demand for fractional is because a lot of the marketeers are still relying on a playbook that they learn about betting and betting and depending on traditional paid channels, which are no longer working as well as before because they're more expensive and more competitive. They still rely a lot on gated content to drive MQLs, but you know, this whole MQL game already for some years is no longer driving pipeline, and there is a pressure from investors, from the CEO of saying, okay, we really need to hit our targets and show growth. And all the generic outreach of SDRs reaching out, trying to convert, everyone is overwhelmed. And I think that's why adaptability exists, because it is a year of overwhelm. You know, whatever people say, yes or no, even I that spent so much time figuring out how to adapt AI, how to adapt to a new playbook. You know, there's like 20 posts on LinkedIn on a daily basis that you have to absorb and see if it makes sense or not. There is a podcast, there is a newsletter, and you're like, oh, you know, it's coping with so much information that I felt like it's a year of figuring out clarity on, okay, I'm going to bet on these and I'm going to stick to it before I, you know, go left and right, So I think adaptability and clarity or focus, I think those were the words that I found that most of the business I work with, and especially friends, which grew 30% year on year on ARR, which was still very positive for a company of this size. I felt it was because they were able to adapt and focus on one motion, stick to that motion for at least 6 months before moving to something else.
Very interesting. And oh Lord, I hate the AI SDRs. It's like, just spamming people that just doesn't get you anywhere. Casper,
I think our good friend Dave, he said it pretty well the other day, Steffen, where he was like, every CEO, every company wants automated outreach, but nobody wants to receive it. So nobody wants to be on the receiving end, but everybody wants to do it. And I think that's how we all feel about it, right? So,
Casper, what's your notes from last year?
I think so. There's a difference between what we did at Sparkforce, because we're an agency, right? So that's our own marketing was a lot of fun and a lot of experimenting and a lot of cool stuff. Like for the clients, I think one of the things I've noted down is a relentless focus on efficiency. Like efficiency is the name of the game. That means lean teams. So everyone's focused on there's been a lot of layoffs across a lot of SaaS companies. And the reason they do that is because AI is kind of forcing the pressure and pushing the ball of saying like, okay, we need to be more efficient. And as you also highlighted, Hugo, right? It's more expensive, right? So it's more expensive to do marketing. Paid media is more expensive. So everyone's kind of scrambling to figure out what works. And the playbooks that didn't work before, like the classic MQL hamster wheels, have never really worked. And now they definitely don't work anymore, right? So people are scrambling and budgets are being squeezed, and that's kind of putting pressure. What I do want to say with that is that it's creating space for and it's pushing us forward, hopefully as marketeers, to stand out more. Like it's sometimes it feels like a cliche, but I've been like really adamant about that lately. It's just like from my side of perspective, the ones I'm seeing winning are just the ones who are willing to take more risky, willing bets, who are more willing to stand out, be more bold in the market. Because what AI does is it creates an influx of a lot of marketing, like a lot of shit marketing. Right? Let's be real, it's pretty bad, most of it. So the only thing you actually have to do is just be willing to go beyond that. And a lot of companies historically haven't been willing to, but the ones that do, those are the ones that are winning. That was my short take on it.
I think that I really like that, Casper, and I try to preach that to my team as well. Just because we can produce more with AI doesn't mean that we can put out stuff if it's mediocre. It actually means that the bar just goes significantly up because everyone can do mediocre now. So you need to figure out stuff that is not mediocre and that is like truly a thumb stopper as people scroll through everything.
Exactly.
So I know we love to talk about stuff that worked for us, but I think we should do like a round of one tactic that kind of left the playbook of each of us last year that stopped working, just to kind of align ourselves of what should we not do more of this year. I know, Francesca, you kind of said that everything's working right now.
Yes, I'll be like bragging about everything that works so fast, so quick, and but there are some things that work less well, let's say, and that I would not bet on in 2026. And it's not something that you will be surprised to hear. And it's huge trade shows. It's just like a big no for me. But it really depends on the stage of the company where you are at and the brand awareness. For us last year, especially the beginning of the year, again, because of the 95/5 split flip rule, felt like we had to be in all of those big legal events. Because if we would have not be there, we would have lost opportunities and our competitors would have been there, right?
The FOMO was real.
Exactly. So we had this gigantic Notion list of events that we had to be, and for the marketing team has been chaos, like so much work. You know how much work it is to organize those or like be at those events and booth and even like keeping track of the merch and all of that. And I think a bold decision is also to not participate to those events and instead decide to turn that interest into your own events and like organize your own network events where you can control the narrative, you can control the topics, you can control the guest speakers where you're inviting. Obviously, that's possible only once you have reached a certain level of brand awareness, which luckily we did. And that means that Now 2026, less events or huge events, rather organizing our own hosted events, whether they're smaller or bigger, but very crafted for our target audience, and make people wanting to go to your events rather than you having to shop with your booth, and hopefully track what the sales team is actually even doing there.
Yeah. The cost of these big events have always scared me off compared to what could you actually use that money for elsewhere.
Yeah. So I would say that's one thing that we have learned pretty quickly that we couldn't avoid in a way in 2025 because we felt we had to. Now, thankfully, we reached a level of interest and consideration that allows us to move to some other tactics and put the budget somewhere else.
That's great. What's one thing that left kind of your playbook during last year?
Yeah. So first, one echo what Francesca said. We also had the same exact movement of budget. When I read already a lot of trade shows committed. For example, last year for France, this year there's 0 trade shows budget. Like 0. Like first 6 months of the year is like everything is own in-house built events. Even for new markets where traditionally, it's very hard to build up the brand reputation. So even then we're going to explore like, own intimate events over trade shows. One, because budget is much more simplified. You can go faster, you can test it out. And if you work with partners, or at least depending on the business model, if you have a partner motion or some resellers or value-added resellers, that can be very interesting. The other thing that we switched budget heavily was from traditional paid advertisements. And when I say traditional paid advertisement, I mean like, Bing ads, Google ads, all of that. That all switch to a mix of creator influencer marketing, and the other one, it switched also to social advertisement, but not the traditional social advertisement of putting ads on LinkedIn, but more employee-led sponsor posts. So so making sure that the employees build up their profiles, and we can actually, to be honest, like pay for the people that follow them to actually receive the posts that we are writing in the first place, because that's the game of the algorithm of LinkedIn. Like I understand their business model is the game they are playing, but so traditional paid advertisement, we just saw that it got so expensive that the cost of acquisition was just not worth the investment. At least that's for this specific case, and many other ones. So I'll say those are the 2 biggest ones. So echoing what Francesca said, and traditional paid advertisement, at least for my most recent customers, is not working as well as before. So I'm not saying it's going to die like a traditional big bang post of like, SEA is dead kind of thing, but I think the effectiveness is not there any longer, at least for now.
Yeah. Casper, anything outside these 2 points you want to land?
No, I think I want to be more, when we say paid advertising, for me that's a big, for me that's taking too much into the same bucket. Like, because for me it's more about like the whole search experience has been on the decline in 2025. Like so everything like that's related to search has been in scrambles, and especially the paid search. So both Bing ads, that's Hugo brought it up, but also Google ads is a declining space, and we've seen that across the board. That does not mean it shouldn't exist, and there's still space for it to exist, but there's definitely some reallocation of budget that needs to happen, and it's slowly happening, but that needs to happen. And I just want to chime in and say, like, thought leader ads, it's just like, if you haven't done that in 2025, then you're definitely missing out. Like, it's a massive game changer, and so that's like on the other side of that spectrum. So for me, that the paid media we're just shifting it, and I actually think some of it is a good thing, because like Google Ads has speaking of Dreamdata and attribution, has always historically been attributed way more than it deserved, right? And now we're finally starting to see that's not really how the world works. Like, the buyer journey is different stuff. But I think that's a big thing. I do want to say, like, own hosted events has been a big thing for us this year, but I do want to agree on both of you, and trade shows is not like what you want, like what I want to do either. But I just want to
on the own trade shows for the so an addition for the own trade shows, a little bit more for that scrappy marketing gimmicks that sometimes we lose in the past. One thing I've done, which is to do side events next to big trade shows without attending them.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
guerrilla marketing, right? Yeah.
All the buyers are already flying in for the trade show, so there's a good chance that you might grab a few of them for a side event. So that's something that has been, I'm not going to say is effective and it works, but I'm saying that there's a good chance of you trying out and timing it sometimes next to the event. So that's something that was a little bit of a
I think I want to, if I can summarize one thing I've kind of observed a little bit that kind of ties into what we're trying to say is like, for me, like the game of the year has been like, personalization is just like really massively important because like everyone's like the reason good events are still working because like AI is kind of like making the digital experience a little bit shittier. So everyone wants to be like close to each other, have like personal relations. COVID is a few years back, but like that still lingers on with people. And I've kind of felt that like now with the rising cost of all digital, like a lot of stuff, like some of the best successes we've seen are people who send like small gifts and stuff like that, gifting in general, like these ABM motions. I think the problem I've seen is that you have PLG motions over here that leads like a lot of volume, and then you have your really high enterprise. The ones that are stuck in between are the ones that are really struggling, in my opinion. That's what I've seen. Like those are the ones that can't really figure out if you're PLG or super enterprise. Those are the ones that are losing right now. Also from a business perspective, but also from a marketing perspective. Cool.
We got a question in here from Harry, which I think fits pretty well here. He says, I'd be interested to know what digital channels the panelists are leaning into this year. Obviously, paid is getting more expensive, but I'd assume LinkedIn, Google are still a priority. Are there any other paid ads channels outside of this that they're betting on? And this is the good territory for coming up with some predictions that either work or fail. Anyone who wants to go first here?
Well, I can. Go ahead, Francesca.
No, go, please.
I was just going to say that I don't know. I can say more what the trends of what happened. And for example, Google Ads, the spend decreased by 70%. You know, my monthly spend decreased by 70%. On the opposite effect, LinkedIn spend increased by 120%. You know, like the 70% is real. The 120% probably is an estimation I'm making now in my mind, but it's just not saying that is working. But for example, if you are in a business that is highly depending on account-based marketing, for example, you just have to rely on LinkedIn as a platform. And if that's the case, then you just have to do thought leadership posts, as Casper was saying, of figuring out ways to get the voice of your experts to the buyers, or at least to the people that are in market or might be in market soon. So LinkedIn is another one. We did test it a lot, at least, for example, at friends, Reddit ads, G2 ads. I cannot say that I have results that I can say it's working out. Reddit ads seems like a whole game on its own. So I cannot say it works. And then G2, I'm not sure. I have maybe a prediction that review websites are going to go through a massive transformation in the next couple of years. So I see a declining value in those. That's my take. So there's not a lot of channels. So it's more about being really good and stand out on the existing ones over trying to figure out new distribution. Though, who says that Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT are not going to open up a new distribution avenue beyond AI search, but even with ads, we don't know. In 6 months' time, they might open ads, and then you are like, oh crap, my budget has to go into ChatGPT ads and other things.
Yeah,
that would be exciting to see whether when they open the doors for ads on those platforms. Francesca, what are you betting on?
No, but I agree with you, Hugo. And I mean, I don't think it's gonna take that long until that happens. So for the time being, we're gonna stick with the channel that's been generating most pipeline for us, which is LinkedIn. But that said, it really depends on the audience. I mean, it's obvious, right? So our audience, luckily, it's very easy to be targeted because there is a nice function on LinkedIn that's called legal. So for us, it's pretty simple. Our ICP is quite straightforward, and lawyers apparently are a lot on LinkedIn. So it's more about how we use and leverage LinkedIn. I cannot remember last time I uploaded a static image on LinkedIn. We have just using thought leadership ads.
Yeah.
It's such a game changer. And now the evolution of that by utilizing not just employers' posts, but possibly customers or prospects that are mentioning your own brand. Those are the ones that build the most trust. And it's so easy. You just ask the people to accept the possibility to post the post. It works magic. So for me, it's more utilizing the channels that have been working and doubling down and testing new formats. So definitely LinkedIn. So keeping that. In terms of testing new channels, we're looking into social medias that are more towards the B2C audience, just to test it out. Why not? I mean, after all, we're selling to people. We know all that, and they are often as well on those other social medias. So let's see how that goes.
Casper, let me throw you a curveball, since you see there's so many different accounts. So if you can't say Google search and you can't say LinkedIn, what have you then seen of funny stuff out there?
No, I was gonna say something different. So good, but because I wanted to say, first of all, Reddit is massive. I think Reddit is super undervalued right now, and I think I need to talk to you about like getting a better Reddit attribution, Steffen. But that's another point for another day, because I think we're massively underrating the power of Reddit. We have multiple cases where we can hardcore see it working really, really well. So I think Reddit is one of them. I think the other one we haven't talked about is TikTok. And TikTok is working. No matter how we frame it, TikTok's really working. The thing about TikTok is it's really hard to get working. Where Reddit is easily more understandable. I think Reddit is one of those channels, like the way I see it is if you have a niche audience where if you're in super nerdy SaaS tech stuff, the nerds, especially myself, maybe we hang out on Reddit. So there's these subreddits that are really popular. That's going to work. TikTok is a little bit more broader, but you can definitely also find space there. And I think a lot of it also ties to the next one I want to say is YouTube. When no one's talking about YouTube, but YouTube's still big. YouTube's still massive. And especially, so all of these in my world, when you time in, are part of the top of the funnel. So these are top funnel activities, channels that definitely work. I think the hardest part about all three is that they are less measurable. Let's be real. And historically, if something is less measurable, if you can't measure it as precise as something else, then it just doesn't get the same budget allocation. But that doesn't necessarily mean they don't work. So I would say those three are high on my list, and I've seen results from all three. TikTok, I can't really convince all my clients to try it, so that's what I'm struggling more on. But the two others are way easier to convince people on, at least.
Yeah. Once you get used to the LinkedIn ad system, you really miss the account concept on YouTube, on Reddit, on any other place than LinkedIn.
I think Meta is a little bit of the same. People like to call things dead. Meta is not dead. Meta definitely works also in a B2B context. You just got to do it right. And it's harder to do right because you can't do the account targeting without external tools or other ways of doing it. So you got to be a little bit more creative, but you can definitely make Meta work as well. I want to bring up one thing, if I can just briefly throw it in. On top of that, thought leader ads, influencer marketing. I know that's not a channel in the sense, but we've had some insane results on some of our clients on that. So normally thought leader ads, just for the audience, maybe it's just for your own company's people. So I would sponsor Casper's post, or Steffen would sponsor Steffen's post from Dreamdata. But now for a lot of companies, we go out and find these influencers, and they get paid quite a lot. Just a heads up, that's kind of crazy. But to post about your company, it's a classic B2C motion. It's just finally moving into B2B. That is, especially with thought leader ads now, that's so easy to do, and it works really, really well.
Yeah, and you're starting to see even agencies, many, I think they call themselves B2B creators and not but there's starting to be these agencies that have hand-picked talent for whatever your company does, and we're doing a bit of it as well.
Exactly.
If we take a breath, and then now if we put channels aside, I think a thing that is unavoidably going to be huge is AI and the kind of all the waves that is still making in both in every industry, but also for us as B2B marketers. Let's start with let's go gently into it and say, can you tell me one little thing you do with AI that does your work life easier? Hugo, you can go first.
Yeah, well, I have actually plenty of examples, but maybe the two most relevant ones that I found that was a good switch is using AI to gain insights on customers, especially as a fractional person that has multiple clients. It's not always easy to have the learning curve. Yeah, you have to add value, but understand the customer profile, who's the buyer, why they care for. It's not always straightforward what the business model is. So I found that there's some bare minimum now that I always do or try to get to a company when I get there, which is a workflow to analyze the sales calls, on a weekly basis. Just what are the patterns of the sales calls, what are the key questions, what are some of the differentiators they highlight from the customer, or in this case from trends. Send that to Slack with a weekly analysis, and that's easy because if you have Fireflies, Copilot, whatever meeting noter, you can easily do that kind of workflow. And one that I really like is to review win-loss analysis with AI. So every time there is a win wire, a win creates a small win wire. Every time there is a loss, creates a loss wire, why it lost, why it won. And then just enriching the data automatically when an inbound lead comes in. It saves so much time for sales. There's always a problem with CRM quality. And people say, but this is not the marketing role or something like that. That's one thing that adds me a lot of value, because for me to get that knowledge before AI was a lot of sales conversations. Can I join a sales call? Can I join a sales call? Can I join to listen to the customer? And now I can do that at scale. So that's a big one. And the other one that I'm having fun with, I'm not sure if it adds value at all times, but it gives me a lot of joy to build internal tooling. I just saw the power of it. Like a very simple one that maybe before was not possible. Just at this sales kickoff 2 days ago at France, they were saying like, we want to do ABM, but we want to have more personalization. And I was like, how the hell am I going to get personalization at scale? And I was like, well, why don't I just build a tool using Lovable or Replit that scrapes the website, connects to the HubSpot CRM or Cognism or whatever, scrapes, gives an input, and generates a custom landing page for every single customer at scale. That sales can do it. They can just create a landing page, and use it as a way for ABM one-to-one. In 2 days, it's done. Presented to sales, showed, feedback, let's improve, let's iterate. Now I'm going to guess, okay, in 6 months' time, let's see if it works or not, or in 3 months' time. But the ability to do this internal tooling gives me the joy that, there's a new momentum to create new opportunities, ROI calculators, assessments, etc. So one is fun, opportunity, and the other one, insights. For me, it's the thing that gave me the most. So a bit of a long answer to something simple, but this is where I see most value today.
Yeah, wonderful examples, Casper. I bet you do a lot of fun stuff as well.
Yeah, but actually, I'm gonna be super boring. I think what you said almost the same as I want to say, Hugo. Because actually, the biggest takeaway, like the biggest efficiency, I think it's a little bit different. Because I have a lot of specialists across in our agency, so like the creative department has a lot of use it differently than I do. Like as an example, right? But for me personally, like note takers, it's just been massively like the fact that I can just go in and listen to sales calls, analyze them super fast. Like, hey. Nice to meet you, company. I'm going to analyze all your sales calls from last year and hear about your biggest pain points. Boom. 30 seconds later, I have it. Like that alone has been such a game changer for us. That's a massive one. One of the other things I use a lot is that I analyze CRM systems with AI. So analyze also lead intakes and compare it to the platforms. So we built some workflows around that with Nan and stuff that works really, really well. That's been really powerful for me. So those would probably be my 2 biggest wins. There's other stuff as well, but those are, in my opinion, from my personal perspective, the ones that I use the most.
What did you say? Analyze a CRM with AI? I've never heard anybody say that before. What is that?
Yeah, well, it depends on what you want to analyze, right? But and also just be mindful. It depends on your DPAs, so watch out, GDPR and all that stuff. So you have to build closed environments to do it. And we probably have to use Copilot and stuff like that. There's another talk for another day. But you can essentially use AI to kind of go in and build agents that analyze your CRM and say like, okay, cool. Here's what's not happening. Here's what's happening. Here's what's not been followed up. You can set it up however you want to set it up, but we kind of do that. We can't do it on all of our clients, but some of them.
Wonderful. Francesca, you got a little nice trick for using AI?
I'm afraid I'm going to repeat pretty much what you said. Maybe you haven't mentioned TAM analysis, but I mean, that's extremely interesting now, especially when doing this one-to-few tactics and wanting to find a specific accounts in a specific region, in a specific segment, based on revenues or number of lawyers or what's not, depending on your industry. It goes extremely quick. I'm personally using Clay, and within just using Clay, there are so many things you can do. I'm also thinking about, you mentioned, Casper, gifting, which is back, I guess. I don't know if it ever left, but now it's definitely something that we're going to look into more. You want to find email addresses or addresses of where to send gifting without having to ask for that. If you want to send that, obviously, in the office or the HQ where people work. So, yeah, a lot of enrichment as well. Same as Hugo, you said, especially when you have a very high volume of inbounds, and you miss specific information that would allow you to route the leads to the right people. And then for internal purposes, I mean, I do use AI daily, mainly because it helps me summarizing, drafting. It's things that stays in my laptop. I mean, meaning that I don't really use AI for creating content that's gonna be used and distributed outside, rather than within our team. But just that per se, creating a very solid brief for every project, so that you have the why and what and how. I mean, allows you then to scale faster, right? So I would say we are using it more for internal use than for output. I cannot think about a campaign that we have launched which output has been AI generated. Maybe it's a bit of an orthodox thought, but seeing how AI has been reaching like such a high level of product market fit within certain industry, like the legal industry or engineering or even GTM with Clay, I don't think it has reached that level with marketing. I don't think we are there yet. I see marketeer using it here and there, but not in a systematic way. Not yet, at least. Not that I know of, at least.
I think that's a good hook to maybe explore a little bit about how we should be like pushing AI in our teams, and what we shouldn't be pushing. Because for humanity, I can really also start sensing this fear of like brain rot, where like nobody thinks and you just like want to prompt your way to everything. I think that is definitely the bad path. And I think whenever my input to AI, if I invest a lot of creating a lot of good context for the AI, then the output I get from the AI is quite good. But it starts with me thinking rather than the AI thinking. But what I would love to hear kind of how in each of your teams you try to, let's call them good AI marketing habits. What are the things that you're doing in your teams to make the best out of it? Hugo, you can start.
It's a good question. I think we are still, to be honest, figuring out in a lot of the teams. There's a few things that we do that maybe normally do kind of like half a day AI sessions, like every 2 months or every month. That's basically half a day where they just go in and try to build something all together. Yeah? So we start at like 9 a.m. Everyone chooses what they want to try to build. We meet again at 12 p.m. and we just share like what was the discoveries, what worked, what didn't work. That's just a very practical one. Afterwards, I think is similar to what Casper said, everyone has a certain specialization and try to see how it helps AI, how to build agents. We did a lot of sessions even with our own solution architects to show how AI can be used beyond just ChatGPT or something, but really starting to build workflows with workflow automation or using Lovable for tooling, just to see the possibilities. I think the biggest thing that it's the one thing that I don't compromise is to just highlight to teams over and over again that do not outsource your critical thinking to AI, because you will regret in 2-3 years time. I think that's the main thing. For the rest, I also feel if you feel that AI is not doing like 10x productivity and you spend more time than not, don't spend time on it. Let the overwhelm, let the noise be. When you are ready to pick it up, pick it up. I'm not saying, I think you have to learn to work with it, but if you're not ready now, it's fine. You're going to get there. Which I think is different from people that are saying, no, go AI, adopt now, or you're going to be left behind. I think there's an urge, but I believe that people also have to protect their mental health of like, okay, not feeling that if I don't use AI tomorrow, I'm already like, obsolete. So I think I'm trying to mediate the conversation now. But my most important thing is that I just do not want people to outsource that critical thinking to AI. Yeah. So similar to what you said, Steffen, do yourself first and then augment with the tooling or with the platform.
It's the worst feeling when you find yourself, I'm prompting so much that if I had just written this, I would be done by now. I really hate that. Francesca, why do you think that as you kind of sense that the adoption is not, or like maybe the output adoption is not?
Yeah, it's more the output. I just haven't seen AI taking over an industry like the marketing industry as much as other industries. Again, I'm now talking about the legal industries where lawyers work with text, with large amount of text, and LLMs is good for text. Marketeers work, yes, we also work with text, but we also work with creative output and creative thinking. And I just haven't seen a product that allows me to replace many activities that I would normally do, other than allowing me to ship faster campaigns by creating briefs, finding the right accounts faster. So in our team, we're not thinking AI first. Actually, we're just thinking about the best compelling messages that we can produce that will resonate with our audience. And if AI allows us to do that faster by doing some research or enrichment, great. But that's not the goal. That's not the outcome using AI. AI, it's a way to get to do our job faster.
Great. And Casper, what are you doing at Sparkforce to kind of get good AI habits into your people?
I think, can I add something to what you said, Francesca? I think it's a really interesting point, if that's okay. Just like, I said this the other day when I was talking to a friend. I was like, I think what people are mistaken is that in the beginning they thought AI could replace everything. So it was like full on scale. Like you saw Klarna fire 30%, and you saw Salesforce remove a lot of people, and then they're like, oh, we can't actually do that. So, but what I'm seeing now is that AI doesn't really replace your first designer. You still need a designer. Like you need the designer, but it might replace the second. And I think that's how I see it. It's like you need the first one, but then the first one becomes massively more efficient. You still have the critical thinker, the one who like is the whole like design guide rails and like keeps everything in check and can use the tool. But it's not like you can have your CEO or me sit like, hey, I'm just gonna come up with some cool design concepts. So I think, and that's what I'm seeing. So that's also the whole lean focus is like, okay, everyone just needs one person and then they add AI on top of that. I think that's what we're seeing. But honestly, we use like in the beginning of the year, and we still see that like people come to us and they're like, what we're being told we need to use AI, what do we do? And so I think what we've been doing is just like mapping out use cases. And there's a lot. I think people are still in that phase, honestly. They're just like mapping out use cases. And it's very different, right? We have in our copywriting, we use it like we take all the inputs and then we take it in together and then we build it into our frameworks and then we get some outputs out of it. So if you have good frameworks and you have good inputs, then it's really useful. We never ship it like, hey, that's it. Good luck, have fun, right? But we use it as a starting point. I use it way more. We use it way more for research, right? So also coming up. So here's a good. So we research what's interesting in that space, and then we use it also to validate our concepts. So before we design a final ad, we take, okay, here's the concept. Can you come up with create an image or a video that explains that concept? And then we say, like, do you like this idea, client? Yes, yo. And then we make the final version of it. So that from speed, like also to your points, right? That we use a lot. But we have a lot of use cases, but it's I think we're going to see that some of it is going to be more templatable than we thought. Like everyone's like, hey, my case is so special. I don't think it is. Like, I think we're going to see next year that a lot of it is like, okay, it's the same use cases across the board. That's at least what we're seeing. So I think that will be the case.
Yeah, I think my last kind of take here would something we've done at the marketing team here at Dreamdata has been just to kind of have a monthly session where everybody has to show something that they have done with AI within the last month. Like where it's like literally, I clicked this button, I got it to do this thing for me, because there's a great let's call it cross-pollination going on. That hey, the thing that you found out over there, I could use with the project I'm sitting with here. So that very tangible, forcing people, you have to come and live demo something, has been a good educator for our team.
Yeah, I went ahead and hired an AI engineer, like for my small agency here. So I literally have an AI engineer whose only job is to create AI workflows and build AI agents. I started by doing it internally first, just to validate. So it's just been building for Sparkforce, and then we started selling some of it now. So trust me, I'm all in. But it's also, we've been finding it's like, people don't know what the fuck they want. Like, let's be real. Yeah. and I get it, because they're like, the CEOs is like, hey, do AI. And they're like, Mark is like, okay, what is good for you, man? What does good look like? So yeah.
I would love to dive a little bit into the this whole is Google dead discussion now that there's AI. about like we used to like want to just rank pages in Google, and then if we could do that, we'll create our demand, and then we'll all be good. But now there's these, like, I think ChatGPT has more than 800 million users now doing a lot of research there. There's Perplexity, Gemini, whatever you call them. What has this? What I like, let's maybe say it differently. Like, what's your take on this rise of these, let's call them answer engines, and how much is that changing demand for your company? And is it something you do something to rank inside of these engines as well? So I'd love to just like hear the round of the table. Has there actually been a revolution in research for your companies? Francesca, you can start.
I mean, first of all, Google search is not dead. Let's just start with that. People still search on Google. It's just that the way prospects are searching is different. They maybe start from LinkedIn, then they go to Google, and then they do LLM. So yes, of course, we are looking into that. There is a very clear, that's what's at least online, you can tell what LLM is ranking. So getting a Wikipedia page, for example, helps a lot boosting your ranking on LLM. Reddit as well. So even just doing those small little tricks and to get to be in those channels that LLM refers to, that definitely helps. And we do see a lot of traffic coming from LLMs for sure. But I still think that you need to keep an eye on Google search. I almost think that Google search, the intention, it's much higher. It's much more high intent. I can see that now through Dreamdata. I can see actually that those Google search are the highest intent signals before a conversion.
I think that I guess, and I think my take on this is that people will do their research on these answer engines, and then once they've found the 1 or 2 brands, 3 brands they want to talk to, they go to Google and pop in the names over in Google, and then the intent is super high.
Exactly. That's why I think LLM, it's more top of funnel almost, and then the Google search happens when there is a higher intent.
Yeah. Hugo, have you seen any major changes?
Well, I think this will be a whole webinar on its own. I believe that this will be one of the, how should I say, one of the pitfalls that's going to happen this year is that I'm sure there will be tons of marketeers, myself included, have been like for the last month and a half looking for an AEO tool. And it created more frustration than happiness, you know, because there's like now 20 AEO tools all rising the next day. And I think I tested 10 of them. The 10 gave me different results on the share of voice, citation quality. So I'm like, I don't even know which one to trust. So
whatever, right?
I go to that. But the fallacy here is that a lot of them are promising that, look at the prompts, create the article for the prompts, and you're going to show up. And in some cases, it might work out. But the danger here is that, as you said, like if you bet on AI share of voice, there's a lot of consequences around it. You have to improve your brand, and you have to invest on brand. If you have to invest on brand, you have to invest on PR. And then if you have to invest on PR, you have to invest on visibility. And then all of those things, as Casper mentioned, they're not the most easily measurable. So when you go back to your CEO and you have to invest all of these, and 6 months later, the pipeline didn't move, and your share of voice increased a little bit, but there's no pipeline coming from it, then you start entering on this conversation again. So Reddit is not an easy game to play, as Casper said. It's a whole playbook on its own. It has to be very well taken care of, very powerful. But you know, Wikipedia is not easy to get as to Wikipedia page as before, you know, and you can actually get blocked. So it's not just let's just create a Wikipedia page. You're gonna get rejected most of the time. So then it becomes like a little bit, and people think it's an SEO play, but it's not. So I'm saying that there is a lot of moving pieces if you bet on AI search. I think you cannot ignore. I think you have to invest on it. I think it's one of the preparative marketeers, but they should understand the consequences of wanting that. And it's just not just writing articles and hope that your share of voice increases. But I think it brings valuable questions about which prompt do you want to own that highlight a differentiator. So for example, for this company, Friends, it's an integration platform. Competition is insane. All the other brands are American driven. They have 100x more traffic. They have 110x more power, brand power. You're not going to win against them. It's not going to be writing articles and it's there. But very few are European. Very few are European GDPR compliant. Then we might not have the same amount of volume and say, okay, let's try to win these prompts. Maybe there'll be less people searching for it, but the ones searching will have higher intent. and we got, like the first deals coming from AI share of voice. They are not many, but these might be a way to start getting there. So it will drive the right questions. But yeah, I think it's a priority, but I don't think it's as easy as people anticipated. Is let's have a tool, do prompts, create the SEO articles, and voila, solved. Yeah.
It's funny because like PR has been way out of my playbook for many years now. So and I need to think about it again. I need to have these mentions, and I need to have my brand next to this keyword.
And then it's like, let's pitch to journalists, and it's like, who are you? And then it's like, and then we have to have a PR person, and then the PR person is like, but what are you going to pitch for them? We need proprietary data. Oh, we don't have proprietary data. We don't have what of value you have to share. It's an interesting conversation. I find it fascinating, but I think it's going to be an interesting time for marketers next 6 months, because the share of voice on AI is going to drive a lot of other conversations that perhaps were neglected for a long time. The power of brand, the power of trust, customer referrals. Yeah, we know it.
Casper, any reflections here?
Yeah, I totally agree with a lot. So I actually, the resurgence of PR is super interesting, because I was not a believer in PR. I have not historically been a believer in PR, but I'm turning around a little bit. I think the interesting part, so for me, the way I look at it is like AI searches are more contextual. They look for context, and that's why PR is a resurgence thing. It's the same with link building in general. Like, it's kind of like a dying SEO discipline to do link building. It's a little bit gray hat, in the zone. But now it's kind of like back, because AI uses it a lot for reference points, right? So it's a little bit weird, that game. I think fundamentally we're overstating how fast this is happening. Like, the market share of Google went down below 215 levels for the first time last year, but it's doing slowly. Like, it's like let's be real here. Like, it's a thing, and it's changing, but it's not as bad as as fast moving as we think. Then I also think I actually did a prediction early last year where I was like, okay, geo is going to be everywhere. I'm like, geo and SEO, it's kind of the same. Let's be real. It's not that different. Like, it's not almost the same. Like, it's more contextual, but it's the same disciplines. If you do good SEO, then you will show up in generative AI searches, in general. So that's kind of my take on it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I was one of the ones over panicking in the summer. They're like, fuck, we need to show up these places, but and then Google comes up with these search, traffic is pretty much the same as used to.
Well, it comes even to the practicality where people are like, oh no, now all the landing pages need to have an FAQ at the end to answer the most precise questions. I'm like, well, that was a good practice even beforehand.
That was good before. Yeah, you should have done that historically. What's different?
That was a good practice before, but now it's of course it has more connotation to it.
Exactly.
But yeah, anyway.
My gut feeling though is that it is kind of a little bit more a tip of the iceberg, because a lot of research is going on the ChatGPTs, etc., that we are not seeing right now, and that's probably changing some of people's behavior inside of Google.
I think it's more also the winner takes it all mentality. Like, a lot of the things, so if you write what's the best measurement tool, attribution tool, right? It's not like you get 10 links to 10 different platforms like in the old search ways of doing it. It's more like Dreamdata and maybe Hockey Stack, right? Like, you get 2 options. Okay, cool. So it's more, and it's the same way where you said you don't click on it. So you also see HubSpot had a massive organic decline, but HubSpot's revenue is not declining per se, right? Like, HubSpot, so brand values more because you will be more valued in that space, and it will be even more winner takes it all mentality when it comes to this stuff, at least for me. So
cool. We're approaching the end very quickly, and now I'll talk for a little while, just allowing you guys to think. I want to hear kind of what is that one prediction you kind of feel inside of you for marketing 26 that no one else is thinking about, or you at least think you're a bit contrarian compared to everybody else. Or if you want to just go with something that might be obvious and that is just going to be huge in 26. What are that 1 or 2 things that you think will matter a lot for us marketers in 26? And Hugo, you look like the guy who is the most ready to answer.
I look like, but I'm not. It's a really tough question, especially a part of no one. I think everyone thought of everything. When I was thinking, and maybe influenced by the last days, it's just an opinion. It's maybe something that is underestimated, which is people are still going to do a lot of outbound. And I've been thinking more and more that next year we're going to see more and more marketing organizations trying to own all the cold, warm, intent-driven outbound motion, not the sales organization, not the sales organization. I think that of course the sales do it, but owning the process, analyzing, seeing what works and doesn't work, and seeing like, okay, really taking on ownership on the outbound messaging. That everyone says cold outbound is there, etc. Let's bring intent-based outbound. But the fact that people want to move to intent-based outbound means that a lot of the marketing practices come back to the playbook. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a transformation where marketing teams actually also have to think about how to sell and actually maybe take ownership on the initial phase of outbound. Call it being it cold, warm, intent-driven with signals, whatever is your gist. But to build an effective motion, I believe that the prediction that perhaps not many people are thinking about is how do you own and influence the outbound motion on your company as a marketeer, even if you are not being the ultimate responsible or the person sending the email. So that's just something that has been on my mind the last days. Let's see how it plays out.
It makes a lot of sense because it's also becoming more of a technical discipline. That there's a lot of tooling you need to get right to do outbound, at least if you want to do it at scale. Francesca, you want to have your
yeah, I mean, take it for what it is, but I think, again, especially because we are in the AI hype still, marketing 2026 for me, it's going to be all about human-centered type of marketing, like putting the volume on branding, people selling to people. That's why thought leadership ads work so well. Getting the people in front of the product rather than the product in front of the people, making every interaction thought through. Even at events, when you organize your own events, having that little touch, that little detail that resonates well, and having like a very genuine, in the end of the day, genuine and authentic approach when selling, or not even selling, like just like helping buyers buying. It's even more important than ever. Hearing a prospect saying or a client saying, "I didn't really feel like being in a GTM motion," for me, that's what marketing should be doing.
I love that. Casper, what's your prediction?
So it's time for the popcorn, right? Like I think I'm gonna go. I think those two are great points, and actually I agree with both. So it's not like this is controversial, but we talk about tools, we talk about future. I think marketeers in 2026 should go back to basics. Like for me, the thing that's missing that I see the most is a clear ICP and a clear positioning. Hardcore, full stop. Like so many companies have like literally, like I talked to a VP of marketing of a 500-man company, no names attached here. That was like the headline of their website they had ChatGPT come up with. And I'm like, okay, that's probably why it sounds super fluffy. Like I can't remember, like I've audited a bunch of accounts and like all of them, like let's say project management space, right? They're all like project management, it's about saving time and saving cost. I'm like, okay, so you sound like all the rest of them. Like everyone's saving time and cost. Like if I'm not doing that, why am I buying your tool? Like, so being super clear on who you're talking to and why you are interesting to them. That's what you need to do in 2026. And then you can attach your tools, your channels, all that stuff on top of it. But fundamentally, 9 out of 10 companies, they are incapable, from my perspective, to actually do that. Like they're not doing it. And it's because the CEO has a strong opinion, the board member has another opinion, blah, 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 whatever it is. Solve that and you solve all your other marketing problems.
You're getting old, Casper, with all.
Yeah, I'm getting super old. I'm sorry, but it's just like,
no tricky gimmicks anymore.
No. There's a lot of hacks, but it's just like, if you solve this, you solve the rest.
For this, I can just echo that for a Dreamdata. We do like probably this positioning exercise once a year, and everybody's like, "Fuck, okay, we need to do it, and we
really need to do it again." Yeah.
Yes, but it's just like it's. All the other questions get answered so easily once you're aligned on the ICP, which countries are we selling to, what are we saying to them, etc. And then everything else flows from there.
Yeah.
Cool, we're done. Thank you so much, guys, for making this a really, really great panel. And thank you so much for everybody who's watched along or is listening on demand later on. I just really want to say we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. I'm sure both Casper, Francesca, Hugo would love to hear from you on their LinkedIn DMs, so just send your questions to them. And I forgot to say in the beginning, but if you do like what you've heard here, then subscribe to Attributed, where you listen to podcasts. That's our podcast that has weekly conversations like this. And that's basically it. Thank you so much, everybody who took the time to be part of that.